Okay. So what we are going to cover is like very, very basic things we are going to cover. Considering you know the basic of all the Angular topics, like what is API integration, what are directives, ngif, right? How do we hide and show? How do we write the code of the Crud application? Everything. So I have just created an API for a simple employee table. Okay, this is my employee table. We have employee ID, first name, middle name, last name, email, PAN card, city, state, address line one, address line two, PIN code, mobile, is on project, that's a boolean, and project name. So it's a simple CRUD operation. Okay. APIs are also running in my local. I will host it if you want to give it a try. Right. So this is the object. Now, whenever you work in your company, there are so many things you have to take care. Whenever you are working, every project has some good programming practice. When you join a project, you get rules of the rules what you have to follow. You know, if your project is migrated on to 19 or 18 version, so try to use signal, right? If you have a function which is not dependent on in your global state in your component, move it to service or your pure function, right? Helper function. So many things we do. UI design. So many project doesn't get, not every project will have a UX person who will create a prototype in Figma or Adobe and they will provide it. Most of the time, by checking the object, we have to decide how you will design a form, what alignment you will take. We as Angular developer, right? If you have 4+ or 5+ year experience, you have worked till now. So that assumption you should have, or that understanding you should have, seeing the object, you have to design the UI by yourself, right? Now, previously, it used to happen that one UX person used to be there who used to design Figma, but not now. If your application is an admin kind of application, client or users are not so focused on the UI, that how it should look. They are more focused on the data and the functionality. So it doesn't matter. You won't get Figma. You only have to take care of that decision, how you will design your form. Again, while designing, you have to feel like, yeah, it should be user friendly. Field alignments also should be proper, right? So UI onboard, I won't be designed, but we are trying to just complete the basic CRUD operation. But while completing, what should be your approach? Again, this will be useful for while working on the project, but for interview also. Most of the interviews are, they ask you to write the code. Once your theoretical part is done, they will have one round of interview. Well, they will ask you to code at least mid scale. Till mid scale, they will definitely ask you, from small scale to mid scale company, they will ask you to write the code and they will check how you are writing. Let's say one vacancy is there, 20 people are there interviewing. Let's say 10 people they have shortlisted for round two. They will check how people are doing the code, right? So many times now, because so many AI tools are there which you can use and which can write a very optimized code. Some companies are like that. Yeah, you can use the AI. Use AI to complete the whole project and provide a story, but you should be able to explain it also. But not all companies will allow you that. Some companies will ask you to share the screen and do it right there itself, right? So we will try to consider that scenario, okay, how things we should handle it, right? So this will be useful for your daily project activity and for the intro also. Okay. Now consider you're working on a simple application. You have all the APIs, get API, post API, get by employee ID, on click of edit, update API and the delete API. So we have all the APIs ready. Now I have created the component. Now we have to, first thing is like, you have to create the UI. So considering the object, what you have, right? This is the object you have. Now let me change it quickly. So post API has all this field. When you work, not all the now post API is all this field, and in the get API also I'm returning all those field. But while working, it's not always like what object you are passing in the post, you won't get it in the get. In get, you might get some less number of field also. Okay. So let me quickly. I have written the API by using codex only. In get API, return some limited fields only. Okay, let it work. So instead now, here you can see in Gate API, I'm able to see what are the post API object were there, what things were there. Same thing I'm getting in the Gate API. But while working on the project, this is not the case. Let's say in your post API, you have 50 field. So can API developer will sell in the 50 field over here? No. Whatever the things you are going to need while displaying in the table, those only field it will display. Okay. So first we will complete the UI. So this is the object. Now I will be using Copilot or sorry, Codex to design the UI. So this is the component what I have used. Okay. Now here, let it know in employee list component. This is my object. Design UI only for this. Use bootstrap. Don't write Angular code. You have to specifically say don't write Angular code because it has access to the project. It knows this is an Angular application. If you provide an object, it might complete the CRUD operation also. You don't have to write a single thing. So whenever you are writing a prompt, what you need that you specify, but what you don't need, what are the limitations that also you need to specify. Okay. Don't write Angular code. Just need UI. And let's say make design user friendly. Okay. Let's give it some time. Let's check if API is ready. Let me skip it, stop it. Let's try to rerun your API project. Now in Get API, we will get limited number of things. So your post API will have 10 or 15 field, but in your Get API, you will have only limited number of field. So then that Get by ID API becomes very important now. Okay, let it run. This is in progress. Why API is taking too long? Yeah. Okay. When I should time just taking. So now if you check the Get API, see in Get API, we have limited number of field. Address and everything is not coming. But if you check the post API, you have so many field. So this is very normal scenario when you work in the project. Get API will have different field, post API will have a different field. Okay. Now, once first thing is like you design a UI. Once your UI is ready, now your Get API and the post API have different responses. So just to strongly type, we should not use any, right? So we go for creating a class or the interface, right? So I don't have model. So let me create model folder. Let's say first I will create the just to strongly type my, what do we say? Let me stop this. I don't need the build. HTML only created, right? Yes. Okay. So first I will create employee dot model dot ts. Now you have two API, get and the post. Get has some different responses and post has some different responses. Now so many people have these questions like when to use interface, when to use class. So your get API has limited number of field. Whenever you are creating a variable and that variable you are going to bind it somewhere and that variable is going to have the data from the API. So go for a go for an interface because you don't need initialization, right? You don't need initialization at that time. So go for a interface. So this is the response what we are going to get from API. So we will create an interface for it. Let me copy. So over here, export interface employee. It's an interface. So whenever you create it, you can give it a name. So I employee list. So other person who is seeing your code, he should understand. So just starting your interface with the I, this is also very important. It's a good programming practice. So no one, you know that you have written this code, so you will understand it. But if someone else is checking this code, let's say you review, you raised your PR and your TL is checking, right? So he should understand, yeah, employee list is an interface because it starts with an I. Okay. Employee ID. This is your primary key. Whenever you talk about any API call integration, every API will have a primary key. You know, when we talk about database table will have primary key. If it is employee ID, if it is product ID, if it is department ID, right? So everyone will have it. So primary key, when number, then full name. This will have a data type string, email, string, Let me copy paste quickly. Mobile, city, state is project on, and last one is project name. Okay. Now see, all these fields are string. This was number. Just this is Boolean. So let's provide the preferred data type. Okay. Let's remove this. So this is the interface which we have created. Now this interface you are going to use whenever you make the API call and you have to store the data into the variable. Now for post API, either you are going for a template, you can create a class just to strongly type. But if your form is reactive form, then you can create the interface also, because you don't initialize the interface, you create a reactive form. But just to strongly type, you need something, so you go for an interface also. But if it is a template form, you go for a class. So I'm going with the template. Okay. So this we need to create a class. Okay. So export class employee model. Okay. Most of the things are common, so I will copy paste from here. Remaining things, what are there? PAN card. Copy paste. Address line 1, address line 2, pin code. Everything is covered, I think. Nothing missing. Email, mobile number. Pin code is there, PAN card number is project. Yeah. Okay. So this is the class we have created. Now, whenever we talk about the class has a constructor. So you have a single place where you will initialize all these properties. So in your component, you don't have to initialize. By default, you will use new and it get initialized. So that is the difference between when you go for class and when you go for interface. Okay. So this dot employee ID, all the properties you need to initialize. Now employee ID, it's a primary key. So most of you might know key whenever you have a primary key, we initialize with 0. While whenever you have a post API, so you pass employee ID as a 0. We don't pass any number or undefined or none. We pass it as a 0. Okay. And the remaining strings are you will initialize with empty. So equal to empty. Let's say some fields are there which you need, let's say state or something, and you want some state has to be default. So you can initialize that over here itself. Okay. But for now, I will go with as empty. Just to do it quickly, I will put it over here. This dot. And now this I need to replace with this. Search and replace. One by one, I'm replacing. Project name is Boolean. So this we will initialize with false. Okay. What is remaining? PAN card. No, PAN card number is equal to empty. Okay. So we created a class and we initialize all the field like this. Why it is giving error? Okay, it is getting duplicated. So you created a class. Okay. This you are going to use it for a GET API. This you are going to use it for POST and the PUT API. Okay. Now UI is ready. Let's see the UI also, okay, how it was. We didn't ask for this. We don't need this. Just a minute. Okay. So we don't need this top section, just the table and the form we need. Okay. And why it is like this? We ask it for CRUD, the employee Let's check the UI, what it has created first. This is there. We don't need this dashboard sections. I'm removing it. This is the table. Okay, after the table, it forgot to form. Let's ask it again. Inside panel, create form with all fields. Even though we passed it like UI design, what did we write? Okay, we didn't write specifically what do we need. So it has created very generalized code. So writing the proper prompt is also okay. So let's give it some time. Now, over here, as I said, we are going to use template form. So as let's say new employee object. Colon. Now you have created class and interface. I will show you that you can use interface also and you can use class also. Let's say you want to use an interface. Okay. So what you do, you provide it like that. Now in your constructor, you have to initialize all those fields, whatever the field you have given in interface. So this dot employee object, curly bracket, and you have to, why it is giving error? Side of functional check. I employee listen input. Okay. Now here you have to initialize all the field like this, everything. So consider you have created an interface and you are using that interface in 2 or 3 components. So wherever you are using it, you have to initialize like this. If this variable you are going to bind with your form, so that should be initialized. So everywhere you have to initialize if it is interface. But if it is a class, it's very easy because at a single place you have done the initialization. So this is that answer you have to give. Why you go for a class. Okay. Now you don't have to initialize it. You can just use the new operator and it get initialized. So when you do like this, your constructor get executed and all your properties are initialized. So when you use the class at a single place, you have the initialization. You don't need to initialize in every place wherever you are using it. So this is for class. Let's say employee list. Here you will go for your array. So here you will bind this because whenever you are binding array, you don't need initialization. You are just strongly typing it. This will be fine. Okay. Now this object is there. Let's say, wait, let's check the UI. Why it is giving error? Compare. Okay. Why we didn't get the UI? We are asking it to create the form. I changed the right side panel into bootstrap only, all the employee form. I need, see, just to get work done, a simple word is missing, CRUD operation. Because we didn't add the CRUD operation in our UI, it has not created the complete way. Okay, so that word was very necessary. In the first prompt only, if we have added that, it would have created, but we have used 3 prompts. Consider like if you are using cloud. So cloud has started as per the uses, right? So if you just to complete the one thing, you have wasted 3 prompts. So that much your billing will increase now. So that's why we, while writing the prompt also, we have to be so careful. I need CRUD design. Add all editable fields. Okay. Now it will create the proper. Anyway, so till that time, now we have this employee list. Now let's say on the page load, you have to make the API call. Now we can make the API call into component also, right? Consider you already knowing it, or let's say you completed basic Angular things, all the topics you know. Don't write your API call into your component, create a service. Doesn't matter you are working for a proper project or you are giving a machine test, always go for creating a service. Okay. Because if you don't do, other people are going to do it and they will have a higher chance of getting selected. Everyone is going to complete the task. Okay. So employee. Now in employee service, we will write our all the API call function. So here get all employees. Now we are going to make an API call. So we need an HTTP object. So HTTP is equal to inject HTTP client. Okay. Now this function is going to return API call data. Whenever we know API call data, so it is going to return observable type of data. So observable. Now here you are to specify, you know, what is your API response time. Your API is returning array of this object. You have created interface of it. So that you mention it over here. I employee list array of this you are going to return. Then return this dot http dot get. Again, here also you need to specify what type of data. I employee list array. And then why it is giving error? Okay, we are passing it. Then your method name, you need the URL. So now you see employee list, post, all the APIs are going to be common only. Just the method name are different. So URL is going to be common. What is URL? API. So this URL is going to be common. We don't have a method name because all the method are same. Just method name means URL is same. Just the method name are different. So that is going to be repeated again and again. So you can create a normal variable API URL string equal to, and you will put it over here because this is going to be common. So this you will use it everywhere instead of reusing it. So these simple things also explain the proper coding practice. Yeah, you know that this is going to be common. So instead of repeating again and again, you put it into a variable and then you are using it. But in your actual project, you will store this into your constant also, or this part will come from your environment and this you will keep it into your constant. Okay. But for now, we are going with this. So this is your method, which is going to return an API, return whatever the data you have and what data you know, observable of type this. So in your employee list, now on the page load, you have to make the API call. Let's check if yeah, now you got the form. So see, employee ID, it has shown we don't need the employee ID. Now, so API call we normally do for your ng on it, right? So lifecycle event on in it, you implement it, then ng on in it. Now don't call the API call function directly over here. Create a separate function. Get all employees. Follow the camel case. Create your variable with proper name. Create your function name with proper name, right? So here, now we have created employee service, so that we need to inject. What is it? Employee service is equal to inject import employee service. Okay. Now we have injected a service. While creating variable also now, so many project has that guideline already, or when you raise a PR, your PR approver might add the comment that if you have something like this, first you have a variable, then you have in between inject, then you have again variable. So have some common practice that all the variables should be at the top, then all your injection will be there, then all your view child will be there, right? So follow something. Let's say you have some signal. So keep normal variable first, then signal. Then if you have some template reactive forms, so then forms over here. So try to follow that sequence also. Don't mix everything. One variable is lying around, then you have in between injection, then you have view child also. So follow common sense, right? So these are very small things, but when you appear for an interview, these things also play a very major role because other people are not going to do it. But if you do it, you are making yourself apart from all this. Okay. Now here, this dot http, sorry, employee service. Currently, we just have one function dot subscribe round bracket result. Now here you have to provide a data type. Now this function is going to return a data type of observable, but I employee list. So same data type you have to give it over here, an array. Okay. Then this dot employee list equal to result, whatever the data you get. And this function, then you will call it over here. Okay. don't write your API call function over here, because on click of save, again, you have to load the get all data. So keep your function. You have to separate your code. Doesn't matter your function is getting repeated again or not, but still you have to separate the logic. When we talk about function, it's not only for the achieving reusability, just to make our code scalable also, right? Now, we might not need constructors, so let's get rid of it. You got the data. Now this data you have to display. Now, this is specifically to Angular 21. So in Angular 21, it's a zoneless application. Okay. You will see the issue now. So we have gone with a normal variable, and this data you will get it, and you have to display it also. Where is our table? Yeah. So this is the TR. Let me remove the hardcode one. This whole TR we need to iterate. So you can use ng for or ng. You can use go for ng for or @for. But if you want to go for ng for, again you need to import. So go for @for only. Normal variable employee list, and then your TR will get repeated. So this will go inside this. Let's format. Okay. Now, so since we binded this variable properly over here, so when you use it, what is this SS? Let's check the UI. I think this is the first character. Okay. So we can show over here, it's a circle. So we can show first name, first character, and last name, first character. So anyone here we have to show, here we are going to get first name, middle name, last name. But let's say as per UI, here we have to show first name, first character, and last name, first character, that we have to display. How we can do that over here? So here we are going to display item dot first name. Okay, from API only we are getting full name. From API we are getting full name. Let me check. While saving, you can say we have different field, first name, middle name, last name, but from API only we are getting it concatenated as a full name. Okay. So now let's say you have full name. So let's not display the remaining one. So we will just show the first character. Okay. So here you are displaying the full name, and employee ID we don't need to show. So let's get rid of it. So here you have full name, but here you have to show the first character from the full name. How you can display the first character? You can unmute now.
Can
How we
do
can
like
display?
carrot?
But you cannot use caret directly over here, right? Caret is
Slice.
right? Slice pipe. Okay. So we will use slice pipe. Slice pipe. Okay. Now here, this is the complete data, complete full name. From that, you just need the first character. So slice, what is it? 0. What do we pass? Like this, now? Let's check. Save. No. Hyphen we pass or what? How do we pass it? It's giving G. What is G? How do you use slice pipes? 0 colon or 0 slice start index until when? One.
Bracket. Slice bracket, and just like how you.
This is correct, no? Yeah, now we got S. Okay. Let me add some data from Swagger first so that we can see one more record. Write out, let's say, Chetan, P, Zubi, Chetan, execute. Now if we go to our UI and refresh, now see the thing. Okay, it will work properly. Let me reload second time. Let me show the network tab. API call is happening. Okay. If I reload, API call is happening. We are getting the data also. But that data is not coming into the table. Let me show you debug also. Where it is employee list.ts. I will add a debugger over here. Reload. So we got two record. Currently employee list is empty, but once we run this line, in employee list, we have the data now. But that data is not coming over here. Why? Nothing is wrong in the code also. See, properly we are binding. Because Angular 21 is a zoneless application. Okay. When you talk about zoneless, your variable, this is your normal variable, and normal variable value is getting changed from asynchronous code. So UI won't be able to understand that change happened because it's a zoneless application. We don't have zone.js in the picture. Okay. So for that, instead of going for a normal variable, now you will go for a signal. So this was your normal variable. Now instead of this, we will go for a signal. Signal. What type of data you are going to store? Employee list array. How you initialize? With empty. So now it's a signal. What will be the data type of this signal now? We didn't give the data type. What will be the data type for this employee list signal?
Array.
Anyone? What will be the data type for this signal?
Array.
Sorry?
Array of objects.
Array.
Array of objects.
Yeah, array of object. This is we have stored. But signal, when we talk about signal, there are multiple types of signal, right?
Writable signal.
Writable
Writable signal.
Not read only. No, we are changing the value. So writable signal. Okay. Again, what type of data? No? So that also you need to specify. Okay. You have writable, read only, computed. So many different types of signal we have. So this will be writable. Since it's a signal, how do we update a signal?
Or like a method.
Right. Be on mute. Background noise is coming, guys. If you're not on the headphone, don't unmute. So much of background noise will come. So set method and the update method. Two methods are there, set and the update. So we don't want to consider the existing data. We just want to replace it. So we'll go for a state. Okay. Now it's a signal. So we have to access it as a method. Round bracket. Now you will see the data coming up properly. Okay. See, from Chetan, first character is getting displayed. Let's quickly bind the remaining thing. This was our email. So since we binded that with us, instead of going with any, we know what data we have. So you get properly IntelliSense everything. Okay. What is this now? Email ID. What we need to show it over here. Here we can show, wait, let's see the title. Okay, mobile number. So after contact number, here we can show the mobile number. Item dot mobile here we will show. And then this is location. So for location, what we can show, city and pin code we can show. So here we will show our state and city. Okay. So let's say item dot state space item dot city. And here we will show our pin code. Pin code we are not getting, so let it be. Remove it. Then here PAN number. Okay. Item dot PAN number also we are not getting. Let's get rid of this. Project. So on project. Now this was a Boolean flag, right? So here we cannot show true and false. So item dot is on project. If this variable is true, what we can say here, assign to project, or instead of showing these two things, either you will show the project name or not assign, right? So if this variable is true, means if this variable is true, we will show the project name itself. Why to show assign to project? So item dot project name you will show, or else if this particular variable is false, so we will show not assigned or on bench. Okay, so we don't need this. Let's save. Okay, so string data only had there, so data binding is there. So this is the use case of signal. Now, if your project is zoneless application, you cannot go for a normal variable. If that variable you are using inside the HTML and that variable data is changing from some asynchronous code, so UI won't be able to understand the new data. So go for a signal. So that's why if you don't understand that much, if you have a GET API call, go for a signal immediately. Don't go for a normal variable. If you have a variable and that variable you have some data, and from some button click or some page load, you are doing some changes to the variable, and that variable you are using it. That variable value is not changing from asynchronous code. Go for a normal variable. It's perfectly fine. Okay. But if your variable value is getting changed from asynchronous code, right? Go for a signal. Now the GET API part is done. Now this object is there. Now this object we need to bind to our form. Now over here, employee ID we don't need. Primary key we don't showcase anywhere. Now here, square bracket, round bracket, ng model equal to this dot. So this will be common. So I will copy this, search it, and I will replace everywhere by this. Here only it will get. Now here, f name, array, wait. What we have binded? Employee model. No? Why in employee model we have full name? In my DB, I have first name, middle name, last name. But in my post object, why I'm getting full name? No, in post we have it. Okay, we did that mistake. We copied things from, so we don't have it. F name. Sometimes we have to talk with API people also. This is again very true question that do you do the communication with API team? Yeah, so sometimes we do the communication with API team also. Why it is in error? Let's say your API post API has 20 field and API team is returning 20 field in the GET API. You are not using those field. So you have to inform in table I'm only using 5 field. So don't pass the remaining field. Okay. So this is kind of a communication we have to do from, even though they sometimes if the API person is intelligent, he won't send the remaining field. He will ask you, okay, how many fields you want in the GET API. But sometimes if let's say API team member is also new, he is not having that much experience. So he might return the post object in the GET API. You are not using it. So why to have that much data present in your Angular application? And to get 50 field from your table, and if you are getting 10 field, it will take less time to get 10 field rather than going for a 50 field. Okay. Guys, don't use anything. Okay. So this type of communication you have to do with the API team. And this is an intro question. So you have to answer like this. Sometimes API JSON or output I need in a separate format. So I will communicate with API team and I will ask him that I need the data in this format. Okay. So we created this let's format. And when you are in the interview and you push or sometimes you share the code, always format the code before sharing it. Your code should not look messy. It should be a properly arranged. Okay. Now over here, first name, middle name, last name. Then here we have PAN card. They all are giving error because forms module is not imported. So let's import forms module. Then here we have email, mobile, address line 1, address line 2, then city, state, your pin code.
If we use form
Hmm.
control,
If you use,
if we use form control, then we can't use ng model, right? And so reactive form control.
say it's not like that. You can combine both, but we don't go like that. Okay, in reactive form, you can use ng model also, but we don't mix this thing. Either you will go for template or the reactive. Okay,
So what is the best practice?
it's not break practice according to your project, right? If your project is having dynamic validation, it's a very big form, so we go for a reactive. If the forms are very simple, we don't go for a reactive. Template is also doing the same thing. Whenever someone is asking you when you will use template and when you will use reactive, so answer it like that. Yeah, that if my form is having dynamic validation, if one field change, so many fields are getting disabled, enabled, right? So I will go for a reactive because value changes and everything is there. I don't want to write a very custom code. We have a definite way in reactive form. Okay, this is how you will enable, disable, item dynamic validation, removing validation. So that thing we can do more easily in reactive form than template form. Is project, and here project name. Now we are using ng model and we might have a form tag. So the name attribute will be mandatory. So I'm removing a form tag for now. Otherwise, everywhere I have to add a name attribute. So we created an object, we initialized with our class, and that we binded it over here. Let's check one more time if we have any error or not. Somewhere we have error. Let's check. The component employee list needs to be compiled. Why this error is coming now? So stop it and run it again. Save. In the local, sometimes with the latest version, you get this error. No, unexpected end of input. Somewhere we forgot to. Okay, what is this? A top bar, I think, for searching. We don't need it. Okay, no error is there. Whatever the object we created, that we have successfully binded to our form. Now, if you check the API, whenever you are working on a task, once you create the form, sometimes in API specs, now this API specs doesn't provide you what is the required and validation, right? But you have to get that info key, which field has what number of minimum and maximum character, right? API person job is there to provide key. Let's say if we talk about employee name, first name, I will show you the database. So you can see first name, middle name, last name, expect maximum 50 character. Email expect maximum 70 character, right? Then pin code expect maximum 6 character. Mobile number maximum 10 only. So this validation API people will let you know. According to that, you have to add it. Min, max should be there. Address line 1, you can see maximum 50 characters allowed. Address line 1 is mandatory. Address line 2 is not mandatory. So API person will let you know what are the validation rules they have added onto the database and onto the API also. So whatever they say, as per you will add the validation. PAN card, you will have to add the regular expression. For email, you have to add the regular expression. Required, max, length. Okay, that you have to take care. So once you design the form, you have to take care of the validation also. Okay. So I will just showcase you. Most of you might be knowing basically what you add the validation. So if it is a template form, we create a template reference variable. Let's say f name, you store ng model inside that. Then you have, what do we say? Dot text, danger, and you have span. This is required, and let's say minimum and maximum is also there. So multiple validation you will have. Minimum, let's say 5 characters needed, something. Okay. Now here you will add first like touched or dirty. 2 checks will be there. At the rate if template reference dot touched or fname dot dirty. Then this whole div will be visible. Then over here, this pan will be visible if fname dot. So sorry that. Wait. Something is escape. What happened? Insert button is clicked on. Just give me a moment. I'm not able to control Z. Keyboard got locked out. Backspace is not working. Which button I clicked? Just give me a moment. Let me check what happened. Okay. So here, your fname dot errors question mark dot square bracket specific error required, and you show particular span. This is how we achieve the validation. Then in case of required min length pattern, everything will go ahead. For PAN card, you need the regular expression. For regular expression, either you can store the pattern here itself, or you can create a variable there. You will store it in normal project. We don't store the pattern into variable. We store it into our constant file. All the whatever the validation you need, you store it into constant, and then you use it into your component. Like this, you will complete your validation. Okay. So you have created a variable that you binded over here. You took care of your validation. Then on click of save. Now, where it is save button, click on save employee. So if you have the validation, on the form tag, you create a form tag, and on form tag also you create a reference like this. I will just create it over here. Yeah, Brijesh. Hash form is equal to ng form.
आपने जो fname dot touch, fname dot dirty यूज किया है, वो तो प्रॉपर्टी से कहाँ से मिल रहा है?
ये ng मॉडल डायरेक्टिव से मिलती है. ये टच प्रॉपर्टी डर्टी हुआ कि नहीं, टच किया कि नहीं, ये एनजी मॉडल डायरेक्टिव से. हम यहाँ पे क्या स्टोर कर रहे हैं? एनजी मॉडल डायरेक्टिव का पूरा डेटा मैं इस वेरिएबल में स्टोर कर रहा हूँ. सो ये सारा एरर्स कितने हैं, टच हुआ कि नहीं, डर्टी है कि नहीं, ये सारा मुझे यहाँ से मिलता है एनजी मॉडल डायरेक्टिव से. ओके, अंडरस्टूड?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So normally when we are doing with the reactive template form, so you create template reference variable for form also, and this you pass in your save button, because then that you use it in your validation also. We'll check if name field is in place. Name field is not there, so I cannot use this. Okay. So this form, you can pass it over here as a parameter. Then you validate that into .ts also. Okay. For now, I'm not passing it. After this, on save employee. So if your if from HTML you are passing that template form, so you get that form like this. Here you add, sorry, what is that? ng form. Data type will be ng form. And you know how you add the validation, so in reactive form dot value. So all those things you can do it over here. Form dot invalid or valid you have. And if it is valid, then only you will make the API call. So those things you do. Okay. Now here, again in our service, we need to create one more API call function. That will be your save employee. Now save employee will expect your whole object, that is the class. So here, and it will return, let's check what it is returning. So save API call is returning the whole object. See, whole object itself it is returning. So return will be the same model. So this function will expect, let's say obj, data type will be employee model, and it will return the same employee model, single instance. Like this. It will be post API. And post API needs URL and object. So obj, we'll pass it over here. This is your save API. Now this you will call it over here. So this dot your employee service dot save employee, this dot employee object you will pass dot subscribe round bracket curly bracket next API call, say result what you are getting, employee model you are getting. If it is success, you will show alert box. If you have a toaster, you will invoke that toaster. Employee saved success and error block. I don't know what error I'm going to give. Wait, why we are getting error? Okay, this will get executed if we get any error from the API. Let's add a debugger over here, over here, over here. Okay, let's save. Let's try to create a new record now. Let's say I'm going with Rahul. PAN card. I'm passing some random detail. Okay. So consider how much you should be confident with basic CRUD operation. Again, for address line, instead of going for a text box, we should have gone for a text area, but it didn't take care of it. So let it be. Now, first let's complete this. Then I will explain the behavior of this. Now let's check on click of save. We got a API call function. Let's check the object to see all the data is coming properly. Now here, I will go here and I will add a debugger over here also. Now, once I continue, my API call function will get triggered. While calling function, I pass the data, that data I got. API call will happen. We got an error. Okay, let's check what is the error we got. 400. Now, from API, we got the error. So while passing the mobile number, this is not 10 character. See, we got the error like for mobile number and the PAN card. Two things we got. Mobile number should be a string with minimum number of 10 and max 10. Same for PAN card number also, we got the same error. So let's click on save again. Now this error you have to respectively show. So see, in error, you are getting that error dot error, where it is, and error. See, error dot error, in that errors, and you are getting an array. Okay, what number of fields are there which are invalid? So you are getting that message. You are getting that array proper. For every field, what is the wrong data you filled? 400 means invalid body. What API is expecting? You didn't pass the correct object to that. So you will get an error. What fields are error? Those are coming over here. Now you have to respectively show this also. Otherwise, how user will understand? most of the API, when you work on the real-time project, they will send the data like this. If which field you didn't pass it correctly, you need to show the error like that. Okay. Now, what is it? Error dot errors. Okay. Let's try to extract that data. Okay. So here we will have a message like error text, and let's go with string empty. Now, from API, you might get error for different field, but we have to show it in an alert box. So here, constant, what do we get? Constant error list is equal to error dot what was it? Error dot errors. Okay. So here we got an array of all the error. Then here we have got multiple error, right? So we can use for each. Let's provide a data type as any, or it's a string of array, right? No. What type data we have? It is having object. It's not an array. You see, it is an object. Inside that, according to the various field, you will get an error. Now consider if you want to create a proper data. In error, you are getting an object. But again, with that object, you get status and this extra fields also are there. We have to write a very generic code which should check if these fields are there, and out of that, if you have some field, then you will extract the value. For now, I will just show title, but in title, we are not getting it. It's a very generic message. So we have mobile number. So in your object, keys are there, but these extra keys are also there, right? Let's try to write some code. So we will get keys of anyone getting how we will write it. This is type of the object we are getting. From that, we need to check if whatever the fields you have, if the specific field is there or not. How you can do that? We can iterate on it. If it is not this field, then we will push it. Okay, let's try. What's the loop we have? For in, which will help us to iterate on the array. Which loop is there which helps us for in or off?
For off for array, for in for objects.
For in per object, no? So error object. Now we have to check if keys are, now here we have this, that this field we want to ignore. So if it is, if object has, if key, if key equal to this, or key equal to title, we don't need to do anything for this. So we will add an if condition for that. Trace ID and type. We need to ignore this. Just wrap it up in a string. In your project, this code might be already taken care, right? So now, if in that error object, we get an object, right? So we don't want to consider anything. If it is not, and so if in your error object, we don't have a field because it is going to iterate on it, then in what was the global variable? Error text. This dot error text is equal to existing value, this dot error text plus, we can write, because initially it will be empty. So if this dot error text is equal to empty, considering it's a loop, first time it will be empty. So this dot error text equal to, we need the key name. So here we will create our custom message like key and your message. So plus error object dot key. From your error object, you are getting the value for the specific key. And if for the second loop, if you have the data already, then this dot error text plus, sorry, equal to existing data plus this one. And here we will add, what do we say, semicolon. Okay. And this, once our for loop is done, then we will show it into the alert box. So whatever the message you get properly, API error space plus this dot error text. Okay, let's give it a test. Okay, let's click on save. Let's try to debug the code also. Okay, we got error. Here we got an object. Now we have got error for the for field. We'll go over here. So first key is email. Then it is checking if it is not there. It will go. We add it in the alert box. We need it after the for loop. This should be after the for loop. So let's say PAN card, mobile number, remaining field I will pass. Save employee. Now you can see from API, you get email field is not valid, mobile number, minimum, maximum 10. So whatever the data you got, that you showed it correctly. Now user can understand what happened. In some project, instead of showing it over here, we add it on the respective field also. Over here, we can show. Again, your code will little bit change. Okay. Let's pass the correct data. Rahul, okay. PAN card, then email, mobile number 1122334455, 10-digit exactly, some address. Okay, these things are there. On click of save, if everything is correct, we should give a success call. Still, it is going over here. Let's say what is wrong now. Email, it is saying not address. Why we are getting the same? And let's check over here. Okay, it is only for PAN card, but we forgot to reset this error text. That's why original previous error also coming. So before assigning it back, let's assign it empty. PAN card was not correct, I think. Let's give it one more try. Rahul. Are you correct now? Save. Yeah, now it is success. Okay. So API call is getting, API call was saved. Employee gave success. But again, after the API call, your table also should load, right? So if your API is not, first we will reload the Git. So to reload, we will call our get all employee API call over here. So data will get reload. But now if you check, our save API is returning the whole object. See? So now instead of calling the API, you can use this data and you can push it to your array also. So you will save one more API call also. Because even after doing API call, you are getting the same object present, one more new object. So that data you already have it. So why to make an API call? So you can use this data, push it to your object. Okay. So here, instead of calling that API, here you got that response. So that also you can extract. So this dot, we need a limited number of data in you because your array, your this from your save API, you are getting the whole data. You don't need whole data in your employee list array, right? You need limited number of data. So what you can do, constant. Now here you can use your destructuring. You create destructuring over here. You need limited number of field, right? What are those field? Line list, constant as employee list is equal to result to get the whole. Won't come like this. What things are there? Now we don't, from API, we are going to get full name, right? Let's try what things are over here. Employee ID, full name, email. Okay. Employee ID. Full name is not there. Let's give it a try for first email. Project name is project on. What else is needed? City, state. And we just need a full name. So now full name is not there present. So anyone knows how we can combine it over here while destructuring itself? Or we can create a full name? No, here we get different. What we need, here we got so many fields. From that we need limited number of field, right? Or constant saved EMP colon my employee list. Instead of going like this, let's do it a simple way. We just want to create a new object as I employee list. Yeah, now it is providing city res.city. Let me format this. Comma email res.email. Employee ID res.email. Employee ID full name. Now full name res dot first name plus double quote space plus res dot middle name plus space dot last name. Then is project on res dot mobile number res dot mobile and last property project name res dot project name. State we need res dot state. Okay. Now you got an object which you can directly push to your signal. So now then you won't need an API call. Okay. So you got an object which this dot your employee list, which is signal. Now you want to add the existing, whatever the existing data is there, existing array, you just want to add a new one. So you will use update method. Existing array dot 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 res and the new array.
Random ones.
Okay. So now you don't need this API call function. So you saved your one API call because from API you anyway was getting your data. Let's save and check this. So now on the page load only you will have one API call. Okay. Now let's say push capital then you have some address. Yeah. Now just see on click of save API call is there. After that, we don't have any API call, but you can see Ankush record is added. So you saved one API call. But this you can do if your save API call is returning the whole object, what you are supposed to get in the get. Then instead of making that unnecessary API call, you can just use that object and push it to your array. You have saved one API call. You are not keeping your server busy for that particular unnecessary API call. Okay. Understood? So when you do the CRUD operation, all these things you have to take care. Write your API call function over here into the service. Return the proper return type. Either it is going to return what type of data. See over here, proper return type we are giving. Whenever you are creating a variable also, there also go with the proper return type key, strongly type. What are there? What are things are there? See, this variable again was lying over here. All the variables should go over here. Then your injection, then your follow that also. Spelling mistake. Proper camel case, your function should be declarative enough. Okay. Now here you can see this part. Can we move it to a different function or it should be over here itself? Now this function is kind of a messy, right? Even though this logic is not going to be repeated again, but we can move this to a different function. So our function will be more cleaner. It will be scalable. Now let's say this functionality same, we are going to need it somewhere else also. So you can reuse this. Patch new object to array. Okay. The same function I'm putting over here. Now it will need two object, only one res. And employee model you are going to get. Now this function, you will call it over here. While calling, you will pass the object, what you get it over here. So same this function, you will use it in the upload put API call also. Now this for loop also, you can move it somewhere. Okay, let's move it. Generate error text. This needs an error object, right? So we will add it over here. I'm going with any because this for every API call, this has to be dynamic. This you will call it over here. This dot error text is equal to same function you will call and you will pass the error object. And this function has to return from here constant error text is equal to I'm keeping as empty. Let's remove this. So we will do the operation with the local variable. It's a constant. So let's go with let. And we will return this local variable. Okay. So like this, you should modify your code. Doesn't matter your function is getting the block of code, whatever we have moved it over here. is it getting repeated or not? But just to make your code cleaner and scalable, we move it to a different function. Understood? So whenever you are working on the project, so many things you have to take care. It's not just like task, API call integration, form validation, so many things. Check the code also. Okay. Now some of your project, I don't know, GitHub Copilot is there. So when you create the PR, Copilot also reviews your code. Again, whatever the instruction they might have given in that file, that only validate, right? If this code was lying around over here, Copilot sometimes don't identify this, but your TL might find. But if your TL forgot to check that, your Sonar issue might Sonar you will find this issue. So whenever you are writing some function, check if some code is we can move it to a different function or not. Do that. Okay. Anyone having any question? Just the basic thing. Most of you already know it, right? But how you should approach it, that is the way. Again, here you can implement a loader also, right? Instead of whenever your API call is happening, you can show the loader till that time API call is progress. Once you get it, loader will hide and then you can show the data. So whenever you are in the machine test now, make sure what else you can do. Whatever is mentioned in the task, whatever the PDF you get, that obviously everyone is going to take care. But what extra thing you can do? Implement the loader. Disable this button till the API call is in progress. Show loader over here. So many things you can do. Right? Even though it is not mentioned in your task that implement the searching, complete that thing also. Right? Even though let's say you are not able to remember what you will do, but show this on project and this drop down. So this you can clearly write simple filter query. Show the project on the drop down, change it only on bench and only on the project. That will do. Some extra thing you should do. Even though market is so much of bad, people are getting placed. So something they might be doing extra. Right? So those who are getting chance for the interview, you are clearing interviews and somewhat you are not lacking. So see again, move whatever things you know already, go one step beyond to that, what extra thing you can take care while for the next interview. Okay. Understood all? Anyone having any question?
While doing API call, you are using next keyword. What is the use of that next
So this
keyword?
is the new syntax. Previously we used to directly subscribe and do like this. Inside this, we used to write error block like this, right?
Yes, sir.
So this syntax is deprecated. See, we got that deprecated sign now, crossed is there. So this is the older way. This is a new way. This is the success and this is an error block. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know the exact version from where this got changed. This is the older way. This is the new way.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else, or else we are good to close? Okay. I hope session was helpful. You got to learn something new. Recording I will upload tomorrow or day after tomorrow in YouTube. Okay.
So one
Thank you
more
all.
question, that when you declare the writable signal,
Hmm.
we have to follow that code pattern as you declared the variable as a writable signal.
It's not like that, but sometimes whenever you are creating something, you have to strongly type. You have created a signal, but is it a read only or is it a readable, right? So that we have to specify. Not necessary, but some project follow that. Okay. Because we can have a read only signal also.
Okay.
Like in case of computed is a read only. That value, we don't use it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. Thank you all. Thanks for joining.